everybody. Happy Friday. This is episode 167 of Mavens of Manufacturing, which is unbelievable to me because it feels like I just started this yesterday. And I'm super excited because we're going to be talking about Canadian manufacturing. And I'm happy to have Susan McLachlan and Tiffany Robbins, who are from the ENC. Hello, ladies. How are you doing?
We are excited to be here. Thank you, Megan.
Awesome. Well, to anyone who is tuning in live, feel free to drop comments in the comment section below. Let us know where you're tuning in from. If you have any questions or comments, please don't be shy. I love pulling those up during the conversation, and I don't always like to be the only one asking questions. So don't be shy asking questions either. So let's get started, ladies. First off, can you give us a little background story about each of you? How did you end up in manufacturing, and how did your path lead you to the EMC? Susan, would you like to start because you're at the top of the screen for me?
I absolutely will. Thanks, Megan. So my journey may have started like many others and didn't have manufacturing as the destination in mind, but it's always interesting to see how our paths take us to where we are meant to go. So I'm a tourism management grad, actually studied tourism management at college and university here in Ontario, Canada. And I had 7 years from when I graduated from my first post-secondary program to when I got my first, what some would call adult job, kind of that full-time permanent position. So I definitely had a lot of twists and turns in my journey. It wasn't a linear kind of movement from post-secondary into the world of work. But everything that I did during that time added to my toolbox of skill sets. And I look at being a tourism management graduate to now working, supporting the manufacturing sector. And for me, it's all about transferable skills. So in addition to my position right now at EMC, I spent a few years in the Ontario college system as well, promoting programs specifically focused on the food and beverage processing industry. So as I look back at my career, it's actually been a few times when I've been utilizing my skills to work within and support the manufacturing industry. So again, it wasn't a linear path. It was kind of a curvy path, but definitely all about transferable skills and applying that now to my position supporting the manufacturing sector in Canada.
That's awesome. Tiffany, how about you? How did you get started on this journey?
Winding road, just like Susan. They're the most exciting roads, though. Back in 2004, my adult career started. I became a registered massage therapist in the province of Ontario. Although a non-manufacturing skilled trade, the recipe is fairly similar. So it requires that specialized training, technical proficiency, extensive knowledge, expertise to perform effectively, and network. You need a network of like-minded, supportive human beings on your journey to success. So that may pique curiosity in how am I here today?
Yeah, because that is like a very far end of the other side of the spectrum. But it's interesting that you made those similarities, though. That's really cool. I like that.
Yeah. So my mind has always been curious. I'm an explorer, an investigator. I'm a doer. And during that 15-year massage therapy career here in Ontario, I found myself to dabble in other things. I actually, on that journey, fell in love with philanthropy, and I found a way to exercise my skills as, in technicalities and knowledge and expertise to have a really solid career in philanthropy. Philanthropy is a position in life where relationships and betterment of others is the key priority. So I did a crazy thing at the age of 31. I had 2 kids under 6 years old. I chose to propel myself into a second career path. I picked myself up. I relocated 3 hours away for an in-person school year at a post-secondary institution to better myself and advance my knowledge. So I shifted around in a couple of different jobs, specifically regional hospital foundations. I'm getting to where I got
Okay.
to just shortly. And by happenstance, in my network, again, I reiterate the importance of that, I found EMC. EMC allows me to continue with those very special relationships with people. We have members in our organization. We have customers, we have friends and family chatting with us every day. This position here at EMC is a very unique blend of all of that, and I'm so happy to be where I am today and helping that manufacturing sector propel itself forward.
So what does EMC stand for, and how long has it been around? Like, give us the backstory of EMC and how long it's been around in Canada.
Excellence in Manufacturing Consortium, EMC. Back in the early 1990s, Al Diggins, who is the board chair of EMC, we are a national nonprofit organization, he developed the foundation for what would eventually become EMC. So starting as a project developed through Georgian College, Al chose to focus specifically on identifying and developing the skills that manufacturers need in their new hiring, in their processes, etc. And he strove to bring together the resources and skills necessary to support manufacturers in his hometown of Owen Sound.
Okay.
Excellence in Manufacturing Consortium started as a group of 18 manufacturers in the Owen Sound area. And Owen Sound is about a 3-hour drive north of Toronto. EMC exists today as an organization committed to collaboration, trust, innovative leadership, and we are an inclusive and diverse not-for-profit organization. Our network has grown. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. I don't want to interrupt.
I could just keep talking, though. So.
No, that's okay. I wanted to know, like, so here in the United States, I like doing comparisons in like the state of manufacturing in different areas, because I find it interesting the similarities that the United States have with other countries. So I'm just curious to know, like, what is the state of manufacturing in Canada? Are you guys experiencing some of the same challenges that we are here in the United States in terms of like the skills gap and getting more diverse groups within engineering and manufacturing? Because here it has been predominantly male and white for like a long period of time, and we're getting better, I think, because we're seeing more women come into this space. We're not quite at that 50-50 mark where I would like to be. Hell, I would like to be probably 60-40 because I'm competitive. So I like more women than men. But what sort of challenges are you facing as a sector in Canada, and how is EMC sort of like resolving those challenges?
I can add a little bit to that, Megan. And when you talk about that skills gap, I think that's one of the pieces that EMC has learned and is aware of in terms of the manufacturing sector in Canada as well. We're very grassroots as an organization, and one of the things EMC does is really connect directly with manufacturing organizations, and specifically those small and medium-sized enterprises. And when we talk about challenges that they're facing, that workforce development, human resource capacity tends to be a main theme. So you're exactly right, kind of that skills gap or that skills mismatch about the skills that they're needing and who they're able to recruit for those positions. That diversity in the workforce, absolutely. And then really looking at retirement attrition as well. So I believe aligned with the United States, we've got a generation of workers that is getting to the point where they're starting to consider what their retirement life looks like, and taking all of that knowledge and experience with them, and not having the individuals on the other side looking to fill those positions or that kind of attracting that next generation of the workforce. But human resource capacity, I think, is one of the main themes that we are seeing here in Canada as well.
Okay. Are there like certain things you're doing in particular to really attract younger generations to engineering and manufacturing? Because I feel like it's really a hard thing to do. Right now, one of the things that I'm hearing is here in the United States, the younger generations are becoming more interested in the trades because they don't want that debt, right? That college can bring. So they're calling the next generation like the tool belt generation, which I find interesting. So I'm just curious to know, like, are there specific things the EMC does to really bring awareness to the next generation and get in front of them and get them excited about some of these positions in manufacturing and engineering?
Short answer is going to be yes. And the longer answer is a little bit multifaceted, but EMC has started to work with a lot of projects and initiatives now.
Okay.
So funded through different agencies across Canada, with a main goal of connecting that next generation of the workforce to the manufacturing sector. So we have a lot of wage subsidy programs that are available, and work integrated learning is a lot of what we do as well. So for example, we have a post-secondary program, the Student Work Placement Program funded through the Government of Canada that supports work integrated learning placements for post-secondary students. So co-op or cooperative education is the best example of that. And EMC is one of multiple delivery partners across the country, but we're focused on serving the manufacturing sector. So that's a large initiative that we've had going since 2020, I believe, again, to help manufacturers support work integrated learning opportunities for students, which allows students to experience manufacturing as a career destination of choice. And we've worked on a lot of other projects as well, looking at that high school population as also. So providing opportunities for manufacturers to offer high school co-op placements and or short-term work placements to help that youth demographic explore careers within the manufacturing sector. Manufacturing tends to be a well-kept secret in terms of employment opportunities and as a destination for careers. So unless someone knows someone working within the sector, there may be a huge manufacturing presence in their community, but often we're behind walls. You can't see us, so it's hard to know what sort of magic is happening inside those facilities. So through work placements and that work integrated learning, we're hoping to educate the youth specifically, and looking at other populations as well about the opportunities that exist. And manufacturing won't be the fit for everyone, but it's important to be making educated choices for your career options and learning about a sector as large as manufacturing is here in Canada is an important step in that journey.
Are your co-ops kind of like apprenticeship programs? Is that the same thing, or are those different?
So predominantly co-ops, specifically within the post-secondary education system. It's not that traditional apprenticeship pathway that many may be familiar with. A co-op is really a work placement as part of a student's education. So they're getting that theory in the classroom, and then they're able to do a co-op work placement. So it's a paid work placement where they're out there in industry getting work experience as part of their degree or diploma education.
I know, like, the reason why I asked that question is because sometimes they're used interchangeably, and I'm like, I don't think they're the same thing. I think there's a little bit of a difference. And I know one of the pushes here in the United States that we're trying to do is really get apprenticeship programs back into like the high school level, which I think is really cool. And we're also trying to upskill the teachers in the education system, because the things that they're teaching aren't necessarily what they're doing on the shop floor or within manufacturing. Is Canada, or is the EMC in Canada doing something similar where you're not just helping the students, but you're also helping the educators who are teaching the students? Do you have programs for them?
Yeah, I would love to intercept for 1 minute and brag about, and elevate the work that the Center of Excellence for Skilled Trades and Manufacturing in New Brunswick is doing.
Okay.
They're doing an amazing job getting those educational experiences for kids and teachers into the K to 12 classrooms. So, for example, in May, they had a manufacturing week out there where they brought in a virtual tour of specific companies. They brought those tours into the classrooms for these kids. And I'll highlight Mrs. Dunster's Donuts. They sent Play-Doh kits out to all of the K to 3 classrooms and then sent them actual donuts when their little workshops were done. I think it's remarkable to take that.
That's really cool. That's such a creative way, though, too. So there's a company here in the United States, Batesville Products, and what I thought was really cool is they actually have a kids link on their website that you can click. And so they have like coloring sheets available. They put together a bunch of different experiments that you can do at home. And they're from the foundry industry. So one of their marketing people, she helped create a children's book for them to kind of explain the foundry industry. And then she goes in and they melt chocolate and mold the chocolate, because she's like, it's basically teaching them the basics of the foundry without like using the chemicals and stuff that we're doing. So I think that's a creative way. And who doesn't like donuts? Like,
I know.
Sign me up. I'll do that all day long. My friend Arthur's here. Hi, Arthur. Thanks for joining us today. He said, what an amazing way to bring the trades into schools. And I think companies need to be more proactive and like get themselves in front of the schools. Do you have any companies that are reaching out to you to like get that initiative started? Because a lot of questions that I get asked as not just as a technical writer, but as a podcaster, a lot of people have come to me and they're like, well, where do we start? Like, how can I really help and, get people's attention? And I'm a strong believer in putting your boots to the ground. And like, if you think there's a problem, like you, Tiffany, you said you're a doer, like go and do something, make those connections. So are companies coming to you and asking you for like a strategy on how to really do some of these things? Like what's those conversations like, especially with the smaller companies? Because a lot of times I think they're hesitant to do things because they don't have the budget and they think it will cost a ton of money. And it really doesn't. Like there's things that you can do without putting any budget towards it. So what are some of those things that you're doing for companies like that?
From my side of things, there are whispers. There are low undertones of companies coming forward to say, how can we do this? How can we get in front of the kids? Out in our Western provinces, they're putting together plant tours in partnership with other organizations. They're packing a bus full of kids, students, cool. Varying age groups, taking them on tour at manufacturing facilities and presenting those opportunities in that way. Susan, do you have whispers?
Well, whispers and even full-on conversations as well. But one of the pieces, and with all of our initiatives that have been focused on youth, we've been working very closely with expanding our network. Tiffany, I'll bring that networking word back into this conversation, but expanding our network of high school educators. So being able to have direct contact with a lot of school boards across Ontario for sure, and then other jurisdictions across Canada as well. So we're expanding that network. And a lot of times, as you mentioned, for manufacturers, they just don't know where to start. So specifically with work experiences at the high school level, whether that be like an unpaid co-op placement, or we have some great apprenticeship pathways that are starting at the high school level in Canada as well. But lots of times the employers, they may have tried to call a school or aren't sure where to start. So we're really proud to be able to facilitate some of those introductions and connections. So supporting the manufacturers and saying, hey, I've got this direct contact at the school board in your area. Let's put you in contact so you're able to learn about the opportunities that exist. And I think it's really great to see so many initiatives that are out there to help youth specifically connect and learn about careers. And it's often just making that connection. So being able to facilitate introductions helps manufacturers, I think specifically, be able to find the things that are happening within their communities and those opportunities to do that career promotion right at facilities within their communities.
And I would encourage any Canadian manufacturers specifically to reach out if they're looking for opportunities like that. We are the masters at making connections within the industry.
Do you make connections outside of Canada too, though? Like, does the EMC just focus mainly on Canadian manufacturing? Because I know, like, I mean, we're your next door neighbor. Like, we're right underneath you. And one of the things that I try to do is really get people to understand that manufacturing isn't just here in the United States. Because I think if you're outside of the sector, you really take for granted, like, everything that you're holding and using has a process and is manufactured, and there's like a design stage for it, there's a thought process to it, there's problem solving, there's critical thinking, and you really can have the opportunity to like go anywhere in the world with manufacturing. And I just think like the more we can collaborate with one another, the better we can strengthen it in our own local area. So do you guys work with groups outside of Canada, or do you just specifically focus within Canada?
Our primary focus is in Canada. And I will say that, yes, there are groups in the United States that we do have relationships with as well.
That's awesome. Well, I do want to talk about the Women in Manufacturing Skilled Trades project that you guys discussed with me in an earlier conversation that we had. Can you like give us some details on what that is and what the main mission for it is, especially in Canada?
Absolutely, we can, and I am super excited to be the main point of contact at EMC for our new Women in Manufacturing Skilled Trades project. It's funded through the Government of Canada, so it's actually as part of their Canadian apprenticeship strategy, and its main goal is to support the recruitment, the retention, and the success of women apprentices and tradeswomen. And EMC's project is specifically focused on tradeswomen within the manufacturing sector.
Okay. Do you have like specific stats of like how many women are in manufacturing there in Canada? Because like I mentioned before, here in the United States, it's around 29 to 30%. And then when you look at the different fields, it gets a little less specifically to like what fields they're in.
Absolutely. So this is part of the initiative is going to be getting a more distinct look or kind of feel about what that percentage is within manufacturing. We do know that women comprise about 50% of our population here. And when we look at skilled trades, so those that are registered in apprenticeships or are certified journey people, the percentage of women is about 5%, which is a huge gap. And that 5% statistic does include the trades where predominantly women are found. So we look at hairstyling and aesthetics as an example, where there's about 84% women working in those trades. That 5% of trades overall, that's all encompassing of all of the trades. So we've been doing a lot of conversations or having conversations with manufacturing facilities and asking kind of their balance in terms of men and women working within their facilities. And some of the responses that we got were about 50-50, right? They've got about 50-50 split. But then when you bring that down to ask how many women they have in skilled trades positions, that number decreases exponentially. So it's really, that 5% is probably pretty accurate and or even a little high for looking at women working within skilled trades positions in Canadian manufacturing.
What about in leadership roles? How is that looking?
I don't have a statistic on leadership. I do know that, again, when we look at that split in terms of gender overall, there are women working within the sector. And actually, as I'm saying I don't really have an idea on statistics, I also start to think about those connections I have with EMC's manufacturing audience. And there are women business owners that I'm thinking about. There's plant managers as well that I'm thinking about. There's lots in health and safety. So Tiffany, I don't know if you've got that kind of anecdotal thoughts as well, but in terms of women working in leadership positions, I believe we're improving. Anything to add on that, Tiffany?
I can attest and declare that more than 50% of our database network is female.
That's
so
awesome.
They're there, whether it's a health and safety role, a human resources role, finance, accounting, marketing, or other subsidiary roles. Women are present in the space, but the skilled trade specifically is up and coming.
Yeah, so here in the United States, I believe there was one study that said it's 1 in 4 women are in management positions. But then I don't know if you've heard of the broken rung theory, where you if a woman misses her like first opportunity at a promotion, then it's really hard for her to move up the ladder in certain companies. So there's a big push here in the United States to really offer like a lot of programs on leadership development specifically for women as well, which I think is really, really interesting because I just had a conversation the other day with a woman from a manufacturing company, and she's like, I've been here over a year. She's like, it's been really isolating for me because I've been the only woman in this space. And she's like, for the first 6 months that I was here, I didn't even know there was a Slack channel for communication because they just didn't think to like put me in the Slack channel. And she's like, it wasn't malicious by any means at all. It's just that they have this really strong bond with each other because it's been the same group of people for like 10 plus years, and they go out together, they do events together, they travel together. She's like, even when I travel, I'm mostly by myself. And she's like, it's just like a weird, and she didn't come from manufacturing, she came from a different industry too. So now what she's trying to do is really develop like a process for if they do hire more women, like bringing them to lunches and having business conversations. So my question with that, is does the EMC offer like specific programs for leadership development? Do they offer any kind of training for women specifically to really help them develop certain skills in leadership? Because I know that has been a challenge here where we're not really teaching women the business. Well, we are now. We weren't really teaching women the business side of things to help them project in their career. So does EMC offer those types of things?
We sure do.
I would say this will be a 2-part answer, perhaps, and I can start off with having everything that you just spoke about, being what we're hearing as well with the Women in Manufacturing Skilled Trades project. We've been going out and listening to women within the field, and that seeing yourself in the positions or in the organizations, being the only one. Also, so although we're looking at skilled trades positions here, and you were referencing leadership, very aligned in terms of those environments. And through the project, EMC is partnered with the Canadian Apprenticeship Forum. And we have on offer a Canadian a national leadership development program for women in skilled trades. So it's designed for those in the last year of their apprenticeship, or if they're journey people, and it's understanding and giving a solid foundation in leadership skills. So if some of those tradeswomen may go on in their careers and become plant managers or have an interest in that leadership or management side of the company, this gives them formal training in that. And there's a national mentor development program as well. So again, being able, mentorship is a huge theme that we've been hearing, and the importance of mentorship. So giving, again, these tradeswomen a strong foundation in mentorship skills to enable them to be effective mentors to those that come behind them is another part of that initiative, which we're really excited about. And that's kind of on the skilled trade side of things. And then Tiffany, to expand on some of the leadership opportunities.
Yeah, we have a full suite of learning and upskilling training inside of EMC's Learning Center, which includes manufacturing essential certification training. So whether someone's coming in as a production worker or a maintenance worker, excuse me, or a supervisor, manager position, leadership, productivity, and continuous improvement, we have certification streams in those in that facet of our Learning Center. Aside from that, we have short courses too. So we offer programming on adaptability and resiliency, communication in the workplace, effective feedback, conflict resolution, difficult interactions, lean productivity. The list goes on and on and on. So soft skills development for women in the skilled trades, we can support with all sorts of different options, Canadian or US side.
I really like that. Here in the United States, DEI is like a big talking point, and it kind of recently has kind of been getting like a negative kind of reputation, just because of all the stuff that's happening here in the United States that is just, in my opinion, ridiculous. But there are companies that are offering some sort of DEI training within manufacturing companies. Does the EMC offer that as well in Canada? Like how is the conversation around DEI out there?
I can speak to this one as well. And the conversation around equity, diversity, and inclusion is similar here as well. And there are a lot of organizations that are interested in making their workplaces more inclusive. There's also, I think, some pushback also where you mention diversity and there's a little bit of hesitation. So that's happening.
Yeah.
But I think ultimately that's a small percentage. We're working on, and we've actually just developed a new program in that manufacturing essential certification stream that's focused on equity, diversity, and inclusion. So it's specifically designed for plant managers, any supervisors, individuals in management and leadership. It really focuses on the people side of inclusion. So how to make a workplace or what individuals can do to make a workplace more inclusive. And that's focused on women in skilled trades, but knowing that initiatives that are put in place or improvements that come into a workplace to support women, let's say in skilled trades positions, ultimately are going to benefit everyone within that workplace. And that equity, diversity, and inclusion training is going to happen in conjunction with a workplace assessment as well. So EMC has been working with a subject matter expert here in Canada to develop a workplace assessment to give manufacturers an idea about their current state in terms of their workplace environment and how inclusive it is or how mature they are in terms of offering an inclusive workplace. So we have a workplace assessment that will be available to manufacturers across Canada, and it will be fully funded through the initiative to provide them, again, with a current state and identify things that they're already doing to offer an inclusive workplace to individuals, and then recommendations or an action plan of things that they could be doing differently and or could be doing to increase the inclusion of their workplace and fostering that environment that's conducive to recruitment, success, and retention of diverse populations.
That's really cool. For all of the work that you do and all of the conversations that you have with the manufacturers that you're working with, like what are some of your favorite things that you do for the EMC? Like what drives you to come into work every day and have these conversations with manufacturers?
I can start and then pass it to Tiffany if you want. And I absolutely adore that you're asking this question, because this is what fuels me. This is what kind of has me coming to work every day, and the potential positive impact that the work that I do could have on others. That's kind of my why about my position at EMC. And I can share with you, we hosted a lot of consultative sessions with tradeswomen, employers, partners, community partners, and we had a lot of high school students come to those sessions as well, just to hear about and to learn about experiences of women in trades.
Mm-hmm.
And one piece I can share with you on that was about my why I do and what motivates me in my position. But we had a high school student that attended our session, and it was all a guided discussion about challenges and barriers, because that's important to know before you can kind of start solution idea generating. And the student said at the end of the session, we asked kind of, what's your main takeaway or what's your action item when you're leaving here? And this young woman attending the session said that they, before being at that event and hearing the conversations, they thought that they had to do it all on their own, looking at careers and trades. And based on their experience at that session, they now know that there's people out there trying to make things better for them. And so that's goosebumps for me again right now, but just that positive impact that the work that we do can potentially have on those out there working in the sector. That is what fuels me and what drives me.
That's really cool, because I've heard that a lot from women here too, where they initially thought they had to do things on their own. So knowing that you're connecting that bridge and making them feel and now she's going to go and tell all of her friends. And that's
this is the ripple.
Tiffany, what about you? Like, what's your favorite thing and keeps you going all the time?
I'm fueled by challenge. I'm fueled by digging for information, learning more, consuming that information. Every day is a journey at EMC. Yesterday, we hosted a national session on training needs assessment and analysis. We had one of our vendors come in and provide a presentation on how we look at the skills gaps, how we evaluate our team, and what their needs are today and in the future. And being able to present someone with a solution in that moment drives me in a very big way. We had someone on the call talking about, we need adaptability and resiliency training. Well, we have that. Here you are. And it's just that magic light just starts to glow and someone goes off on their way with a solution and positive energy and relief in their role. So digging for those pieces of information to then develop and design solutions keeps me going.
So with all of because manufacturing is very broad, there's so many like different industries you can be a part of. Like you can be in aviation, you can be in military and defense, you can be in biomedical sciences, and then there's a lot of processes too. Do either of you have like a favorite like technology that's out there, or a favorite industry that you just really love seeing what's coming out and what's being produced within that space?
Susan?
So I'll semi-related, but I will take this and drawing. I spent two decades. Oh my goodness. I spent 2 decades in the Ontario college system. So working at a post-secondary institution that was focused on the campus was engineering and skilled trades. And it was the first time I was really exposed to what I would now call additive manufacturing. So looking at, they had robots there that welded. And so it's like they were making vases out of welds. And I'm like, it's pretty much 3D printing with metal. And so I think additive manufacturing is one of the things that I just look at and I'm like, what? Wow. That's pretty fantastic.
It's crazy to see, like, even with robotics and the welding that's happening with robotics, it's crazy to see those advancements. Tiffany, do you have one?
That's a really hard question for me to answer because I have had a lifetime of exposure to metal fabrication, steel, that kind of thing. So I have a soft spot for that industry only because of my personal relationship and exposure to it. But I have been in my Canadian tours of manufacturing discussions. I have become very intrigued with small batch food processors, small batch manufacturers, things like glass blowing. You're talking about that, Susan, and that takes me back to glass blowing. And we have a couple of shops around where I am that take metal and create product from it. I have a deep appreciation for those who are willing to try something and be successful at it. So
I just stopped at a manufacturing company here in they're in Illinois, and it was the coolest thing ever. They took us in the back, and they actually have 2 full-time blacksmiths that are hammering out metal. And I was like, I really thought there were no blacksmiths around anymore, like at this level. And he said that he actually poached one of them from a competitor and was like, I'm never letting him go. Like, he's the best, the one that I have. And it was just really cool to see them working and shaping metal by hand, and that's what they use in their manufacturing business. So I agree with you on that. I think metal fabrication is a really cool place.
So
it's
cool.
Awesome.
Yeah, creativity, the expanse that they have to create and develop and make new things. It's same with small batch food processors, for example. They can experiment and produce uniquities that I enjoy myself. So.
Yeah. Well, I want to know, like, what sort of advice would you give women? And it doesn't have to be younger women, because I know women who are my age and they really don't like what they're doing and are probably considering like switching career paths. And, I've always said, come join manufacturing. And I know women who like were in their 50s and switched over. So what sort of advice would either of you give women about coming into engineering and manufacturing?
My first piece of advice would be do it. That's pretty much the short piece of advice that I would give. And it's be curious, ask questions, do some research, educate yourself on some of the opportunities that are out there and available to you. Manufacturing exists everywhere. So no matter where you are, start talking to people, continue with that networking piece that you've got, and have confidence. So a lot of times I think there's more trepidation for a lot of us to question our ability to do something, and or that fear of the unknown can cause us to pause. If we're looking at a job description and they're asking for 2 things that we don't have out of a list of 12, we don't apply. But it would be move forward, do it, have the conversation, take the risk. And my other piece is that you can apply for anything. You can look into opportunities, and you actually don't have a decision to make until that job offer is right in front of you. So absolutely put yourself out there, connect with opportunities that might be a good fit for you, educate yourself, and then have the confidence to go after and pursue what it is that you see that you want.
How about you, Tiffany?
And coming from someone who has made that second career choice move from education to finding that job where I currently am today, I say go for it. It's okay to not like it. It's okay to try something else. It's okay not to be in your 45-year career journey on day one. Just approach it with an open mind, and how do you know what you like or you don't like if you don't try?
Right. I think that's great advice. Susan, you did mention something about if we don't feel like we're 100% qualified for something, we won't apply for it. And I think the stat was if men feel like they're 60% qualified, they'll apply for it, which is really interesting. Is the EMC doing anything in terms of helping companies with their job descriptions? Because I know here in the United States, because things are advancing so fast and there's new positions coming out, and it's not so much focused on the level of experience or education or qualifications, but more like your skill set. Are you providing any sort of aid or assistance with those job descriptions? Because here they're horrible. Job descriptions are written so horribly and they take forever to update. And if you're from a smaller company, they don't have time to like really update them. So does EMC get involved with that at all?
It's the timing of this question is very entertaining because just this morning, so I'll go back to the session that we had yesterday on training needs assessment and analysis. We had a lot of comments in that session about time and job descriptions and lack of time to develop job descriptions and lack of time in organization to implement job descriptions and organize that huge chain of effect, right? So I had a meeting with our learning center this morning and said which one of our vendors could provide us with a workshop on the creation of job descriptions to support the folks that did attend that session yesterday. It's in progress. So we will have a solution at some point in the near future. Yes.
I will need to follow up with you on that. Cause it's just, we're actually doing an event at IMTS this year called the Manufacturing Ally Rally. And one of the conversations we're having is how we need to like kind of redefine these job roles and like empower the talent to actually apply for the roles. And that means we have to update these job descriptions. So one, they're not so boring and like just overwhelming with qualifications. And then it's using and like pointing out the fact that, okay, if you're not highly qualified for this, we as a company will offer training and like continuous improvement type language. And yeah, it's just an interesting topic. And everybody's like, well, you're a tech writer. Would you write our job descriptions? And I'm like, no, it's not my favorite thing to do. I don't want to do that. So I even like try to avoid it as a service that I provide.
I will add, if I may, sorry,
go ahead.
To this as well. We look at one of the things that we can't do is give manufacturers more time, which we're very aware of, but helping them be able to do things quicker and providing them with resources, as Tiffany was talking about. And through my research work with the Women in Manufacturing Skilled Trades Project, finding gender decoding systems as well, where you can put your job posting into the system and it will kind of let you know how slanted your language is in terms of being a more attractive to a man applicant versus a woman applicant. And then also to add, EMC has a really great program called Member Needs Help. And it's a service that allows EMC members to ask a question, and that goes out to be able to solicit answers or support from EMC's whole manufacturing member audience. And I mentioned this because I recently have seen a couple where companies are asking for others to share job descriptions. So again, being able to share and collaborate is another thing. And so Member Needs Help, that service that we have for our members, is another way to help organizations not have to start from scratch on a job description if they've got a new position that they've maybe never offered. But sharing and collaboration is really at the core of what EMC does and facilitates between manufacturing companies as well.
That's really cool. I think that's a really good idea, and especially the sharing part, because I would not want to start from scratch on a job description. I've tried writing them before, and I don't like them. If someone can write a really good job description, that's a great skill set to have. It's not one that I have. So before I let you two ladies go, I do want to give you a chance to share your contact information. So if anybody wants to learn more about the EMC, if they want to reach out to you, are there like any kind of trade shows that you attend or sponsor? Like what's the best way for people to get a hold of you and reach out to you?
through our website, emccanada.org.
Okay. Do you go to any events or trade shows?
We do actually, and we're hosting a number of them across the country this fall.
Okay.
That we'll be bragging about on our website and socials pretty soon. And I know that you've tagged us in your LinkedIn posts about the podcast today. So feel free to connect via LinkedIn too.
And what kind of dog do you have, by the way? I love dogs.
I'm so sorry.
No, I love dogs.
I don't love mine right now, but I have a Rhodesian Ridgeback who's 8, and I have a Bernese Poodle Cross who is 3. They're both in the 100-pound range, so their barks are quite loud, and they're keeping me safe here today.
My sister has 2 Bernie Poos, and they're a trip. They're so funny. They're
so great.
They're just a lot of energy. They're Rosie and Butch are their names, and I babysat Rosie once for them, and she plays fetch by herself. Like, she'll throw it up in the air and catch it, and like, she's hilarious. They're such cute dogs. I love them. And anytime your animals want to make an appearance on Mavens, I'm all for it. Like, I have no issues with animals making an appearance on Mavens. I do want you guys to ask a question for our audience. So if you had one big ask for our audience, what would that be?
Susan, you can share. We talked about this.
We did share, and we actually have 2 if we're allowed. Since there's 2 of us, maybe we're allowed for 2 asks.
Yes, you are.
The first ask is that we would love to hear people's personal experiences. So if there is anyone out there that wants an avenue to be able to share their journey with us, specifically if it is a woman in manufacturing, we would love to listen and to be able to highlight that journey, perhaps host an interview with the individuals as well, in being able to use that to inspire other women, no matter their age, to look at careers within manufacturing. So if anyone has a story to share or wants to connect, please do that, because we are listening. And our second ask that we have is just for everyone to be mindful and aware of their power to have a positive impact on those around them. So I think sometimes, specifically when we look at let's say women in manufacturing skilled trades, it can sometimes seem like a daunting task to look at making improvements, and we might think that it's the grand actions that are needed, but it's every little action, everything that we can do as individuals that has a positive impact on someone else is helping towards that final destination. So I have a quote I've resonated with recently when working on this project, and it's, even a slow moving vehicle pointed in the right direction will get to the destination. So it's for everyone out there, whether they're a woman in manufacturing and or an ally, to just be aware of the power that you have to have a positive impact on the lives of others. And often we don't know that we're having it. And that positive impact you have on someone is also having a ripple effect afterwards. So it's understanding and being mindful of your ability to impact others.
I love that, because it means that. So to go off of that, this is a quick story. When the pandemic hit, everybody went to social media, right, to kind of maintain their sanity and not feel so isolated. And the group of women that I met via LinkedIn was super powerful, because we were all used to being like the only one in our communities, and we felt really isolated, and like LinkedIn kind of connected us all together, and we share like successes, we share challenges, and we inspire each other to like go out and do certain things within our communities. And it's just had this massive effect. And now myself and Automation Ladies is a sister podcast. We're sister podcasts. There's 2 little girls that their hashtag is Junior Board of Directors, and they watch our podcast and they like try things out. They just did a business plan for hats, and they did a school fundraiser. They're in Canada.
They are, yeah.
they did a school fundraiser where they made a logo, put it on hats, and then they sold the hats for their school fundraiser, and everybody in our community like bought the hats from them. It was awesome. So yeah, I 100% agree with that. Well, Susan and Tiffany, thank you so much for joining me today. I'm trying to get up to Canada to meet the junior board of directors. So once I get those plans established, I'm definitely going to reach out to both of you because I think they would have a blast meeting you two as well and learning more about EMC. And if there's a tour that we can all do at a facility or something, I think that would be fantastic as well. So I really appreciate you taking the time. And yeah, thank you so much to anyone tuning in. Please reach out to Susan and Tiffany. If you're in Canada, make sure you connect with them and get involved with the EMC because the only way we're going to strengthen manufacturing is helping each other out and collaborating. So I hope you guys have a wonderful and safe weekend. Thank you for tuning in. Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks, Megan.
This episode of Mavens has been sponsored by Fresh Horizons Group. Fresh Horizons Group is a family-run company that was founded on the premise of helping organizations and businesses better tell their story through high-quality branded apparel and promotional items. Freshen up your brand by contacting Fresh Horizons today at freshhorizonsgroup.com.